Thank you very much to all of you. It's for me a privilege to be here. It's my first time in the United States. I've been to other countries, right? Mostly in Europe or also in India, Nepal, in Peru, but it's my first time here. So for me, it still feels like being in a movie. I see hummingbirds and I say, oh, hummingbirds. And the big cars you have, and so, wow, that's huge. Right? But it's also a privilege because I've had the privilege myself of having this contact with science out of several reasons that included my wish to understand things that are not obvious. Science does this, right? It points into directions that are fascinating, amazing. You start discovering that the universe is not as gross as we think. It's extremely subtle, it's extremely complex, rich, and then you zoom in into matter, and yeah, already with cells it becomes amazing universe, and then you zoom in molecules, atoms, and then you zoom in, and then you start with quantum physics, and then nothing makes sense anymore. It's like a crazy universe. It's like, wow. Before reaching this point of quantum mechanics, well, everything is quite manageable. No? Particles, we think of the atom. No, we also have this idea of a nucleus and all the electrons like planets, right? And then you move into quantum mechanics. I only studied one subject because I studied chemistry and we did quantum chemistry. I was like, I don't understand. Give me back my planet. It's my planets and my... Okay. So, in a way, science gives you the opportunity to open your mind. And you start discovering that the way we see things, it's not the way things exist. And we are lucky we have science. And we are lucky that science, the scientific knowledge, even though it's difficult to understand, has provided something that we can use. Things such as this or this, right? So we have a lot of faith in science because we see the technologies. In my experience, and this is why I feel privileged, I've been always open-minded, highly skeptical, but open-minded. And when I met for the first time in my life a Tibetan Lama, which I didn't want to meet, by the way, but the circumstances led me there. When I met him, it was a mind-blowing experience, and I couldn't explain this because of suggestion or placebo effect. I didn't want to meet the Lama. Actively, I didn't want. But I had nothing better to do. I was with a friend in India, and I had nothing better to do. He was Buddhist. He was going to see the Lama. And he asked me, do you want to come and visit my Lama? I thought, no way. Absolutely no way. I was fed up with him because all the time was talking about Buddhism, and I was not Buddhist, and I didn't want to become Buddhist. I was a scientist, a member of the scientific church, right? Not like this, but almost, right? So the thought came to my mind, no way. But then another thought came to my mind. I have nothing better to do. So instead of spending the afternoon in the room in which we were, in a monastery, no TV, no entertainment. At the time, no cell phones, no internet. Or walking the streets where plenty of Indians will go after me to get my money. I thought, okay, let's visit your Lama, right? The experience was mind-blowing. I consider myself a skeptical person, an analytical person. And at that time I was already quite open to the possibility of a continuity of consciousness, of rebirth, these kind of things, like your consciousness continues and takes a different kind of like physical shape. different kind of life. Yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, it could explain so many things, right? Like a scientist I was like, yeah, this sounds reasonable. Very much for me that just having one life. For me, there has been always something mysterious on how consciousness arises. And as a scientist, there was something that I didn't really get. It's like consciousness, it's not material, right? But yet the hypothesis is that the brain produces consciousness. For me, it was much more reasonable to think that consciousness is something broader, more subtle. And the idea didn't come from my knowledge of Buddhism or other kind of traditions. It came from my little knowledge of different interpretations that physicists, including those who are considered the fathers of quantum mechanics, had, in which the consciousness of the observer has an impact in the measure. This is mind-blowing. If this interpretation is a valid one, and let me highlight interpretation, because quantum mechanics is not about this. It doesn't say this. Quantum mechanics is a set of equations, the main one, which is called the wave equation, that explains things below the level of atoms, right? Of what we conceive of as atoms. But for me, it was like, wow, wait. So until you measure, you don't have certainty in certain things. The moment you measure reality, certain aspects of reality, you get data. It's kind of like your mind or the consciousness fixes through the measurement, through the intention of measure something, kind of like freezes for a while reality, and then you measure. But then it's gone. Next minute, reality has changed again, right? For some of these physicists, their interpretation was that consciousness is playing a role in the physical world. This has not been proven so far. But I have to say, as a scientist, not as a Buddhist trying to sell anything, trying to sell Buddhism, which, by the way, was invented by the English people. Buddhism, the concept Buddhism, doesn't exist in India. They talk about Dharma, the Dharma of the enlightened one called Sakyamuni. But Dharma is not something that belongs to anyone. It's an accurate knowledge of reality that many traditions, many people might have. Not only contemplative traditions, not only religions. Some people might have this knowledge because of observing reality, because of paying attention to their own experiences, right? So, yeah, I'm not selling anything. I'm little, next to none, interest to sell you anything. And I'm just talking, right, from a scientific perspective right now. There is a growing body of evidences that suggest that consciousness might not be a product of the brain. And I say might not be because it's just evidence. It's still not something that can hold a theory of consciousness, right? But if we don't know these things, we might have heard neuroscientists that think that this is completely crazy, to think that consciousness it's not produced by the brain, right? But so far there is no proof supporting this. So this is not an established theory. It's at best a hypothesis. But sometimes because they believe, or they want to believe that that's the case, that the brain produces consciousness, they disregard other possibilities. And there are also good reasons to believe that this might be a reasonable hypothesis. I will not go there, right? I don't want to start talking just about science. But other scientists question that. They say that it's a reasonable hypothesis, but there are alternative explanations, and actually there is, as I said, a growing body of evidence that suggests that consciousness is not a product of the brain. When I met this Lama, I was blown away. And I was not highly suggested. I didn't want to meet him. I didn't want to become Buddhist. I didn't want anything to do with Buddhism. But somehow something happened. As a scientist and knowing a little bit about Buddhism, I was like, this felt like a reunion. But not any kind of reunion. A very special kind of reunion. Like my feeling, if I have to put words to the experience, and this is how I explain the experience to other people. And when I became Buddhist, it was like, wow. Because at that time, even after meeting the Lama, I didn't want to do much with Buddhism. But the way of describing this experience that allows me to convey more what I experienced there, it was like meeting someone so precious, like the most beloved one, having had an episode of amnesia. You forget about this person, and then you meet the person. It's like, oh, I know you, right? I didn't have the full awareness. Oh, I know you. Oh, we met. No, not like this. But the kind of like same feeling. It's like, wait, no? I know who you are. I don't know, but I know. The same kind of feeling, like if you think that some beloved one you will never see again, this extraordinarily important person for you, you think that you will never meet again because you go to a different country and this person remains there, and maybe you think that this person has passed away and one day you meet the person again. It's like, oh, I thought you were dead. I thought we could never meet again. Something like this, right? Then I get to learn about Dharma, what English people named Buddhism. But Buddhism has a connotation I don't like. Ism. I don't like, because for me it doesn't have this connotation. It's just one path with methods, techniques leading the person to find by themselves valid knowledge about reality, about the reality of our minds and the reality of this world in which we live, but mostly the reality of our own minds, right? Then I meet this knowledge and it's like, wow, it all makes sense. But not the meeting with the Lama. But yeah, actually, maybe it was a reunion. And nowadays, seeing myself here, which it's not what I expected of my life at all. I wanted to end up in Stanford, UCLA, Harvard, as some of my colleagues have done. Some of my colleagues are in these big universities. That was my plan. And after that, who knows, maybe I stay here or I come back to Spain as a professor and I have my research group at the university, maybe I teach. But sitting here talking about Buddhism, you must be kidding me. And probably it was fortunate that I didn't know I was going to end up here, because otherwise I would have avoided further contact with Buddhism. Like this, really. But I started learning about Buddhism actually because I wanted to learn how to meditate, to understand better my mind and to control my mind, which was leading me to worry too much. It was leading me to be unable to resolve a small conflict I had with a colleague. It was leading me to insomnia and the early signs of stress. And I was thinking, I don't want this kind of mind. And I don't want to be unable to put this mind under control. So kind of like sooner I realized that the problem is not out there. The circumstances out there might help, yes, absolutely. They might make a huge difference. But even when circumstances are quite okay, you might end up with stress, anxiety, with all kinds of stupid conflicts with your neighbor, your colleagues. And I was like, I don't want this. Life can be much harder than this, and I cannot sleep. I feel tired because I cannot sleep. I feel some early signs of stress. And when I look from a wider perspective, come on, that's nothing. That's nothing compared with the difficulties I will experience in the future. Sicknesses, aging. I was like, no, no. I cannot go follow. I don't want to follow this path. It's too dangerous. I will end up like some of my elder colleagues, like senior students, right? Senior researchers with stress, anxiety, some cynicism, no? That shows you that they are not happy. It's like, no, I don't want this for me. Because Buddhism or Dharma helps you understand, and it's a kind of knowledge, excuse me, that helps you understand reality, but mostly, as I said, how your mind works. And one could ask, no, why? Why one wants to understand how the mind works? And this relates to the thing that led me to start meditating. It's because we want to be happy, not to suffer. It's very easy. And because we don't want to suffer and we want to be happy, yeah, we can try out there. Buying things, doing things, but at some point you realize it's not enough. And maybe you don't need to get many things. You look at others, it's like, they have so many things, but they don't look happy. They have so much reputation in academia, but still they don't seem happy. He or she is a professor, no, has done amazing research, but wow, I don't want to be this person, right? And then you meet this Lama, very simple person, with a huge smile in his face, and a so loving attitude, and with shining eyes. An old person, very old person, but so the eyes so shiny. It was like, there's something I don't understand here. He looks so happy, extremely happy, and his eyes are like the eyes of a small child, full of joy, like. Slowly you realize that yeah, external circumstances are important, but the main cause of happiness and suffering cannot be out there. This is why we keep trying and trying and trying, but oftentimes we don't get satisfaction in return and happiness. We don't alleviate our suffering and just acting out there. And actually, one day came to my mind, if you take this as a scientist, no? Something you want to explore as a scientist, how to be happy and not to suffer. Well, what happiness is? What suffering is? Is it something you find out there? This food makes me happy. We say sometimes these things, no? Especially with people. This people makes me happy. This other person makes me miserable. Make me feel miserable. No? Makes me suffer. But what is happiness? What is suffering? It's something that some people have, or we all have, and we give it to someone. No, I give you happiness, but to you I give you suffering. It's like this. It's something that you find in the physical world. Are there particles with happiness, particles with suffering, molecules of suffering, molecules of happiness? It's something to do with electromagnetic waves, with light, darkness, suffering, light, happiness. So during the day we are so happy, at night we are so depressed. Like this? What is happiness? What is suffering if not an experience? Just an experience. where this experience arises, out there or in here. Because if it arises in here, what are we doing? Putting all of our energies, or most of our energies, out there. When I also know, thinking as a scientist, okay, let's think about the possibility that it comes out there, from out there. Why sometimes this food that gives me happiness gives me the opposite in different circumstances? Why? Why sometimes this person triggers joy in me? At another times, even if the person doesn't do anything, joy doesn't arise in me. I think we all have the experience, right? When we have a good day, everything seems to be like more of a source of happiness, right? When we have a bad day, we have had an argument with someone, or we are just sad, or even depressed, not even the most joyful person can trigger joy in our mind, right? They cannot make us feel joyful. No one has this power. So if you look at this from one angle to the other, you soon realize that it doesn't make sense to put all our efforts out there. Some energy, absolutely. Because even though these experiences of happiness and suffering are experiences that arise in what we call mind or consciousness, they depend very much on the conditions. In brief, if you pay attention to yourself, your body, your mind, the environment, it's easy to realize that we are highly conditioned. So in our attempt to find happiness and suffering, we are highly conditioned. And this is why we end up thinking that the conditions are the cause. Is it clear? But Buddhism says something else, something different. No, the cause is not the conditions. But because we are highly conditioned, it's difficult for us to see what the real causes are. So the method is to slowly let go of the things in your mind that fit some of this conditioning. There are things we cannot let go of. The body conditions us. The environment conditions us. So we cannot let go of the body or of the environment. Up to some extent, we can go to another place. Yeah, this is what we do. When we don't like one place or one job, we move to another. But then sometimes we discover that, it seemed to be nicer, but actually it's the same kind of problems again. Right? We still carry our mind. So Buddhism suggests something else. Change your relationship with what now acts as a condition. Take the power out from the conditions. How? Because it's easy to say. No? Become less dependent on the conditions, so that they affect you less. Okay, that easy said, but it's more difficult to be done. Right? It's difficult to do this. Buddhism gives you clues to change your relationship with the conditions, so that at some point they don't condition you anymore, or they condition you much less. And we all have experiences that are concordant with this kind of view. Have you ever had physical pain but kept your joy? It's not that one thing comes with the other. You might be sick with flu or something else, and you might be still feeling happiness and joy. Sometimes everything is perfect. No? Your body, even you are experiencing pleasure, but you feel miserable. So it's about changing our relationship with experiences in a way that we already, or that points into a direction that it's not unknown to us. Depending on how we relate to things such as sickness, pain, our experience might be conditioned or not by these things. Sometimes we don't know why. I have pain here and there, and things don't go the way I would like them to go, but still I feel okay. I feel some joy. Well, I feel extremely privileged because I think that something like Buddhism provides you with a clear map of the things you need to let go of to be less affected by conditions, and it points out also to the things that if you cultivate will help you also to the same end, to change your relationship with the different experiences that you perceive from out there, or from your body, and even from your mind. Okay, something like this. Shall we do a little experiment? Okay, to illustrate this. So I invite you just to sit comfortably, right? If you are tired, you might choose not to close the eyes. Actually, it's good to learn to meditate with eyes open. So when we are working, no, we are doing something in our daily life, we don't have to close our eyes to be relaxed and focused, right? It's good to train yourself. But at the beginning, feel free to close your eyes if you're asked to this, to focus, right? It's not something you have to do, but it's suggested because it has this benefit. If you train yourself, for instance, in focusing your attention through meditation with your eyes closed, then you try to do this when sending an email. Well, nowadays you can dictate the email, right? But I mean, if you want to cook, might not be a great idea. It's very good to train yourself in developing these kind of qualities, such as focus attention with your eyes open. I would say also with your eyes closed, in all kind of different circumstances. Anyway, try to adopt a comfortable posture. There's no need to sit in strange postures. If you need to move at any time, feel free to do it gently so that it doesn't become a source of distraction. And then I invite you to do something very easy. Think about a person you know, a person for whom you don't have particular feelings, neither positive nor negative. Someone maybe you meet every day or often, someone you know about, but who doesn't trigger in you any particular feelings. It may be someone you know little about. Think or imagine, if you don't know much about this person, the things that this person does. Think or imagine their relationship with their families. Think about their wishes, their hopes. Think or imagine this person's needs, fears. Think or imagine this person's emotions, feelings in different circumstances. In relation to their family, friends. Do this person cherish their beloved ones, their friends? Just try to imagine this, think about it. Probably this person has lost beloved ones. Maybe their parents or grandparents or a pet. How did this person feel? This person might have problems, difficulties. How does this person feels when facing difficulties, problems, things such as sicknesses? Then you can do something else. Imagine this person when they were children. Small baby, small children, and so on. With hopes, fears. Keep imagining the life of this person. If you wish, also imagine the future. Losing people they love, getting old. And try to imagine the feelings of this person, the emotions, the fears, the hopes. Is this person for whom I don't have particular feelings that different than my beloved ones, than me? Are we that different? And when you bring awareness to all these things, does this change anything in your view of this person? if you wish to conclude, you can ask yourself, in regards to happiness and suffering, does this person wish to be happy and not to suffer? Does this person wish this for their beloved ones? Are we that different? Aren't they trying their best to fulfill these wishes? So gradually we can conclude this experiment. You can call it meditation. We say things such as, I know this person. But do we really know that person? Even our beloved ones, do we really know them? In a way, yes. But do we know all their needs, hopes, dreams, emotions, thoughts, memories, experiences? Because these things are part of who I am, right? I'm also all my past experience, my present experiences, all my needs, hopes, the experience I have of my own body, of my own mind. This for me, it's me, right? But when we say, I know you, do we really know the other person? Or we know our idea of what this person is? What is more accurate? When you start digging in the life of others, does this have an effect on you? When you start getting to know or imagine their emotions, feelings, needs, hopes, you open your mind to their past history. Sometimes you make discoveries that are disturbing, like, wow, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Have you ever had this experience? Do we really know other people? Do we really know even ourselves? Do we remember all that we have experienced? Do we know all that's going on in what psychologists call our unconscious mind? Some people make money helping others, try to pull out something from the unconscious mind, no? That maybe it's triggering some kind of disturbing experiences in your present time, right? And then if they are good, finally the person identifies, oh, when I was a child, this dog bit me. And this has left a trauma that has built up. And it all started with such a small thing, right? Or I was freezing cold and there was nobody around me and I was shouting, I'm freezing, I'm freezing. And mom didn't hear me. And then now I have a bad relationship with cold and this is why I moved to Florida. These things happen, right? It might seem funny, but it's actually not things that we... Are we completely... are we seeing reality as it is? Or are we seeing what we think reality is? When it, again, not following the experiment, when you've done this kind of exploration, do you really know that person you were thinking about? Because I told you, think about a person you know, right? Do we really know this person? In a way, yes. But when we start exploring what this person is, do we really know this person? Yes, no? Yes, no? Mostly no, right? And why is this important? Well, knowing all the details about others might not be relevant. But at the end of the meditation, I ask you probably one of the most relevant questions to which we could bring awareness, because it's not something that it's not there in our mind. We all wish to be happy and not to suffer. But sometimes we are so confused that we are much more lost in the details. I need this. I want this. I don't want this, right? But it all comes down to something much more simple. I want to be well. I don't want to be unwell. That's it. How do we do this? The best we can. Do we succeed in this? What do you think? If we were good at this, if we discover that behind our actions, and this is something for you to explore, there is a wish to be happy, to find satisfaction, well-being, and not to suffer, if we were good at this, every year that we live, because of the many things we do to go in this direction, we would be happier and happier, right? And suffering less and less. Is that the case? Do you look around and it's like, oh yes, the older you get, the happier you are, and the less you suffer. Really? Then we blame politicians, our body, and many things, right? But if we look inwards, all the blame it's to be given to circumstances, because if that's the case, again, this means that things like external things that we can buy or jobs, inherently have the capacity to give us happiness or create suffering. But we already went there, right? It doesn't seem to be the case. So again, we are highly conditioned. It's the same for all of us. Have you ever met someone who is really getting happier and happier, and this person gets older and older and starts having some disabilities and still gets happier and happier? Have you ever met this kind of person? I've met some, right? They are like the exception that proves the rule. We all think that it's about the conditions, mostly think that it's about the conditions. But actually, it's more about understanding that happiness and suffering are experiences, and then acknowledge something that we don't acknowledge. We are very much placing attention on the specifics, which are highly related to conditions. I want this, I don't want that. Highly specific things, different for each one of us. I need this big house. No, I need a smaller house, a mini house. I need a tent because I want to go into the wild with my tent and hike. For each person, different, right? We have the hope of finding these things in different kind of circumstances. And yeah, we are highly conditioned. So sometimes following this, we get some satisfaction in return. But it doesn't last. And sometimes it's difficult to get it again, right? Well, to acknowledge that behind all these different wishes, needs, even fears, there's a wish for happiness and not to suffer, can help us open our eyes to deeper causes of this, right? We react the way we do because we want to be happy and not to suffer, but we are highly confused. And we are trying to find this out there. And because it doesn't work, then we start finding it in more sophisticated ways, more expensive ways, with the hope that this will do the trick. And also sometimes thanks to marketing strategies, that sell us happiness. It's like bigger house, bigger happiness. No? And so we have this hope, and we fear that certain things might destroy our well-being. So we believe these things. So we react the way we do because we want to be happy. We don't want to suffer, but we are so confused that when we think that something might lead to happiness out there, I want it, right? This is what in Buddhism we call it, or we translate it as attachment. And it's not the attachment psychologists talk about. In psychology, attachment is what keeps the bond between the mother and the child. This is not it. Attachment is this. It's mine. I want it for me. It's like Gollum mine. My treasure, right? Mine. And I would kill if someone took it from me. Right? If you bring it to the extreme, it's this kind of attitude. So I want it because it's happiness. This is what I want. It's the greedy mind. Give me more. I don't have enough with 1 million of this happiness. I want 1,000 millions. A billion billions. Okay, it never ends. The kind of similar attitude but opposite sign is this makes me feel unhappy. This causes suffering. Most of the time, this person makes me suffer. What do? I don't want this. So we start rejecting this, but forcefully. And sometimes we exaggerate. We start seeing all the worst qualities on this person or object, and we don't see the positive qualities. If it happens with a person, we only focus on the things we don't like, and forget about the things we dislike, that we may like, right? And the same we do with attachment. I focus on the nice things I see. But for instance, I don't realize that this might be very expensive, and this money I spend it's like 2 months salary or 3 months. This I don't see. It's wonderful, but maybe it's not worth buying because it means too much effort, right? But this I don't see. I need it. I will be so happy. Then you get it. You are happy for a while, and after a while, another thing. Another collectible. Then you need a bigger house to put all these things in, no? Or storage. We haven't got yet in Europe, but I think we are getting close. But because we are getting less and less paid, probably we will not go there because now housing is almost impossible. So people cannot accumulate things, right? Anyway, you see this kind of, there's the belief that I will get something. There's the belief that there's something there that prevents me to be happy or that it's causing suffering. According to Buddhism, these are the kind of attitudes that condition us to react oftentimes the way we react. Trying to obtain these things because unconsciously I associate this thing with well-being, with happiness, with all the positive things I want, and rejecting those things that I associate mostly unconsciously with suffering, with problems, difficulties, and so on. Do you recognize this? I think if you look around, it's everywhere, right? What is a suggestion in the Dharma? It's pay attention to this. Don't block it, don't repress it. It's natural, it comes naturally. Animals also have this, so don't block it, but acknowledge it and question it. Because by acknowledging it and questioning it, you will discover that it doesn't work. It will take time to convince yourself. And it will be gradual. But slowly, slowly, you will realize it doesn't work. But then one might say, okay, but if I don't live in this way, I become like a vegetable, no? Or I lose interest in everything. Some might think, well, if I don't relate myself with things and people with this kind of attitudes, then I lose all interest in reality, right? Then it's when we are advised to cultivate another set of attitudes that might have a similar flavor, that can also lead our actions, but actually they don't need this hope. They might be based upon wisdom, not this kind of confusion. These kind of attitudes are the attitudes that we naturally have as social beings. The attitudes that help us care about others. Our caring attitudes. Because if we pay attention to our caring attitudes, think we all have them, right? When I have something precious, when I share it with my friends or my beloved ones, how do I feel? When I give someone I cherish to a beloved one, and sometimes even to a stranger, out of this caring attitude, how do you feel? Here there is not a hope for happiness for myself. I'm giving something to another person, hoping that this might bring happiness to the other person, right? There might be some confusion, thinking that the thing will do the trick. But there might be also wisdom, that acknowledges that this person, like me, is conditioned. And if I provide this person with these conditions, I will help this person find happiness, conditioned, right? But it will be happiness. So, actually, if I acknowledge this, it's even easier for me to give the thing to the person. It's like, I know this is not happiness. But because we are highly conditioned, I know that when I give this to you, you will feel happiness. Okay, so I give it to you, so that you can experience happiness. Highly conditioned, oh yes, but it's still happiness. When we share with others, when we are generous with others, how do we feel? Do you feel bad? It's like, oh gosh, I gave this present to my most beloved being. I feel so empty. It feels great. When we take when we take care of others from a genuine place, not because of duty or what will they think, but because we really care, how do we feel? When someone is suffering and genuinely we have the wish to do something to help this person, to alleviate the experience, how do we feel? Even when we help one stranger, right? It's like, wow, I feel great. So there's something already there, we are not paying full attention to it, that leads to a different direction. It leads, for the person who does it, to a kind of happiness, well-being, that it's less or can be less conditioned. And it has a similar flavor that this attachment and aversion, but they come from completely different places. With attachment, I want this for me. I don't want this for me because it gives me happiness. It might have sometimes this giving, it might have sometimes these days because I feel good. But and I might think, well, I do this because I feel good. But if you pay close attention to it, no, it's not the main reason. You feel good, by the way, but you do it because you genuinely care about the other person. And this is why sometimes we give even things that we cherish, we would like to give, right? And the same with taking care of someone who is suffering. Yeah, it feels like the right thing, it feels good, right? But isn't it true that sometimes comes with some suffering on your side? Like I didn't sleep all night taking care of this person, no? I brought this person to the hospital and now I'm exhausted and I need to go to work, no, to my job. But still you feel good. Exhausted but good, right? So sometimes it has a similar flavor, but it's not the same. You are exhausted, but you don't reject the experience. You embrace the experience because it was meaningful. You wanted this thing for you. You offer it to the other person. That there was a hope for happiness. And especially, let me illustrate it in another way. Because there's one problem with these caring attitudes in our cultures. It seems that caring is something that goes in this direction, not in this direction. Do you have this kind of understanding? No? Love, compassion seems to be things that you have to experience for others, no? In Sanskrit, which is one of the languages that in which Buddhism was kind of like transmitted, the word Maitri and Karuna, which are what we translate as love and compassion, they don't have this connotation of only you. They have more a connotation of a place in which you are, or a place in which you abide, like an inner state in which you are abiding. And in this inner state in which you are abiding, there is I and you. So it's a state in which this caring goes towards you and the other person, right? I think in our culture oftentimes it feels more like you're doing something for someone. But if you do something for you, that's selfish. Well, not here. So in regards to oneself, it might have a similar taste. Like I want this. I think that would be helpful for me, so I get it, right? At the end you get the thing, but the relationship with the thing, it's slightly different. You do this not because I need it. It's because I see. Let's think about food. If I don't get this thing, I will suffer. So out of a caring attitude, I offer myself this food. And if it's tasty, and I like it, even better. Then it's wow, win-win. I fulfill not my needs as an animal, let's say, but I also experience some extra pleasure and I like it, right? Attachment is something more like this. And you cannot let go. And you don't want to share. This caring attitude, it's like, I offer it to myself. But because my attitude is open, I can also share it with someone. Do you see the difference? There is a slight difference, but the experience is completely different. And as I was saying, these kind of caring attitudes, they might come also with confusion. Therefore, my children, they ask me to buy them some ice cream, and I also think that ice cream is happiness. Okay, yeah, let's go buy happiness for all of us. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if it's just a little bit of ice cream, one day, once in a while. But if it's every day, a lot of ice cream. Yeah, this might come out from caring attitudes, but it's not really wise, right? And it might come from attachment. When there is caring attitude, even though you like ice cream very much, you have ice cream without guilt, and just a little amount that you know does no harm to you, or little harm that your body can manage. Because it has sugar, yeah, but okay, you go for a walk and you burn it, no problem. And your children, they are playing like crazy, they burn sugar like immediately, right? Do you see the point, right? So these kind of caring attitudes, they might come with confusion, and then we give our beloved ones things that might be problematic, but it might come also with wisdom. It's compatible with wisdom. Whereas attachment and aversion, oftentimes they are not. And I know that this is harmful, but I cannot avoid having it. Drinking it, consuming it, because I cannot do otherwise, right? So, well, in a way, if we want to change the way we react with the many things we meet, the many emotions we experience, feelings, and so on, it's good to acknowledge these extremely basic things and to slowly move our energy from these kind of attitudes that I mentioned, such as attachment, aversion, hatred, and so on, move our energy, our awareness to the cultivation, to giving us more space to attitudes that are aligned with our caring potential as social beings. Why? Because Buddhism says so? No, that wouldn't be a good reason. This is why it's good not to repress these things, but to bring awareness there, to acknowledge when they arise, how do you feel? What's going on in your mind? To see all your expectations. Then you order happiness. And in 2 hours it gets home. In my place, no, you have to wait at least 1 day, right? But I've seen in probably here as well, right? You have 2 hours delivery, Amazon. I don't have this at my, which is very good, because you have many time to cancel the order. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Cancel the order. There is no reason. The list of reasons why you cancel it, I don't need it. I bought it compulsively. There is no option for this. Other reasons. Next time I will write. I don't really need this. But you are great at selling things, useless things. Thank you. Right? We have these hopes. You acknowledge, and then you get finally you get home. What you order, and you see your reaction, and you pay attention to it with an open mind. If you do so, you discover the trick of these kind of attitudes. It might be the case. It's something you need. Something you consider healthy, wonderful. Then you also acknowledge the reaction. And you see if it has the same kind of flavor. Huh? Like this is also what meditation is. It's about bringing awareness to things. And then with this knowledge, we decide what we do. That's another thing. No one imposes anything. It's up to you. It's up to you. You want to explore these things? It's up to you. You don't want to explore these things? It's up to you. But if we really want to be happy and not to suffer, I think it's worth giving the chance to explore these things. Also because this is not just Buddhism. If you look around, also to people who don't consider themselves religious or followers of anything, some people naturally develop this kind of wisdom. And they cultivate their caring attitudes, and they develop some kind of wisdom. Just by living with awareness. Trying to understand, based upon their experiences, what works for them to be happy, what doesn't work. Right? Something like this. Shall we take a short break in case you need to go to the restroom or stretch your legs, and then, like 5 minutes breaks. And then I will be open if you have any questions to ask. Otherwise, I'll explain something else, or I could keep talking about this. But I would like to know what you were expecting tonight, so that I can, instead of just talking, I give you something meaningful you were expecting, right? Especially because we are such a small group. Okay, so let's do this short break, and then we continue. Please go.
I have a question.
Good.
Oh,
Yeah.
Let's do some. Also online can hear you.
I've been worried about this ever since you began speaking. Oh, you said that consciousness is not in the brain.
No, not like this.
Oh,
like this. No, I didn't say consciousness is not. No. I said that there's no proof.
oh, there's no proof.
That's different. But there's
So
no proof
what
also of the
theories
opposite.
do you have about from whence our consciousness derives then?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not easy to answer, right? Because it's a complex thing. My understanding of Buddhism, my understanding of certain views in science have led me to think that consciousness is something like a space, like a space. It's all pervading. Actually, in Buddhism, it's said that when you fully realize the potential of consciousness, you reach a level of awareness that in which you become conscious, and this consciousness pervades everything and knows everything. Right? This is like mind blowing. I cannot understand this.
All knowing,
Like all knowing,
like
right?
God.
God is omnipotent. This is omniscient, all knowing. God is all knowing and all has all power, right? In Buddhism, you cannot have all power because things happen due to causes and conditions. So you might have the knowledge to play with causes and conditions, like scientists do, and you create technologies, but there are limits to this, the laws of physics. So the physical world has laws. In Buddhism, this omnipotence doesn't exist. A creator God, it's not accepted, right? But having said so, there are certain views on the concept of God, and I have met some of these views from Christians, which talk more about a kind of a principle that creates, a creator principle. And in these views from some Christians, some of them even Catholic, this explains why Jesus says that God is inside of all of us and that we are creations of God. But God is not someone up there for these Christians. It's something pervading all. So, of course, if it pervades all, we have been created out of this thing that pervades all, right? Anyway, I met last year or 2 years ago a lady who is doing her PhD studies at Cambridge University in quantum physics on a particular interpretation that some physicists seem to find reasonable, like a hypothesis to explore, that could explain quantum physics at a deeper level. Let me explain. This woman told me in this view, this interpretation of quantum physics, reality at the subtlest level, no, it's what they call quantum field. It's a quantum field. But what this quantum field is about, she told me, it's about information. Information. And she told me, in a way, in this hypothesis, all that it's happening doesn't get lost. The information doesn't get lost. All the information gets stored in this quantum field, which sounds like crazy, right? And she told me something. She told me why she was doing a retreat with Buddhists. She said what Buddhists call consciousness, or sometimes awareness, it fits perfectly this notion of a quantum field. It's like all-pervading consciousness. Having said so, does this mean that the brain doesn't play any role at all? No. Buddhism will say that what you are experiencing now as a human being, it's the result of two things. This kind of like consciousness that pervades everything coming together with the human body that you have. When these two come together, you have the experiences of a human being, which includes things such as colors, sounds, Sounds, colors are not out there. If you have studied basic physics, sounds are just vibration of the air, but there are many vibrations happening, but only few of them turn into sound, and few of them turn into meaningful sound, such as words, right? The same with colors. Particles don't have colors. Molecules don't have colors. It has to do with light. Light doesn't have colors. It has like different frequencies and wavelengths. This is how you describe in physics light. Wavelengths and frequencies. But we know that certain frequencies, when they hit our eyes, we experience certain colors, what we call red and yellow and so on, right? But what hits our eyes doesn't have color, but we see colors. And actually, have you ever asked yourself if we all see the colors in the same way? Because I say the sky is blue, yeah, but how do I know that my blue is the same than yours? Well, actually, there are some studies that suggest that we might not see colors in the same way. Not exactly the same way. And we are not talking here about some color disabilities. No, it's not like this. It's that my red might be closer to your orange. But because we keep calling it red, we agree with the label, and there's no problem. There's a consensus, right? But maybe I'm not experiencing exactly the color in the same way. This might explain also why, when it comes to sounds or taste, for instance, some people like spicy food. And they think, oh, well, because I'm very macho and you can give me a lot of spices. And no, maybe it has to do with your taste. Maybe for the other person it's unbearable. But for you, you don't feel that much the hot of the spices. This is something I noticed when I was a student. I was doing for the water company, Barcelona. I was testing water, tasting and smelling water. And the lady who was conducting this kind of test, she was a chemist. And I asked her, because I was also studying chemistry, like, I mean, machines can tell you precisely the composition of the water with perfect precision. Why do you ask people? Why are you asking other people? And she said, yeah, the machine can tell me the composition of water, but the machine cannot tell me if you like it or dislike it. And sometimes there are things that when mixed together, they give a nice taste, but separated are awful. But when they interact, right? She told me something, because oftentimes I notice that I would say salty. In a scale of 1 to 10, 2. And other people would say 0. And one day I asked her, but I mean, it's not precise, because, for instance, I oftentimes I say that the water is salty, and other people say I say it's 2 in the scale of 0 to 10, and other people say 0. And she said, no, actually, you are more precise. You are able to notice lower levels of salt. So even this is not objective. You give me the same water, it's a bit salty, and you know it's perfectly sweet. Again, this refers to our subject. We think that the way we perceive things, it's like the same for everyone, right? But this is when we do mistakes. So the brain, according to the Buddhist view, and for me it makes all sense, it plays a huge role. But it's not a producer, it's more like a filter. A filter that, when it's there, contributes, it's an actively shapes like this kind of flow of consciousness, and creates, in this consciousness, triggers a kind of experience that depends on this brain. But it's not the main cause. Consciousness it's not produced by the brain, but the brain interacts with this consciousness. Something like this. It's like you buy a radio transistor, and you think that the music comes from there, from the speaker. But actually, it's not there. It's the radio waves that are transmitting the information, but you don't see the radio waves. What you see is the transmitter. Transmitter, you say? The radio transmitter? Okay. You see the machine. So, in a way, if you wish, that would be an analogy of what Buddhism says about ourselves. We see the body. So, obviously, consciousness comes from the body because it's what I see. I don't see consciousness. The Buddhism would say, well, you don't see it out there, but you experience it. So use your own consciousness to get to know consciousness. That's your instrument. Don't try to find it out there. You will not find it out there. Something like this. Yeah? Does this answer your question? Okay. Anything else? Yes.
So, along the same lines,
Yes.
so is consciousness, can it be described as energy?
If you wish, actually in Buddhism, at some point you realize that all the attempts to describe not only consciousness but everything are incomplete. So yeah, call it energy if you want, but it's just a name, a concept. If it's useful for you, yeah, use it.
So I'm
But,
trying to
yeah.
wrap my head around, so I've heard stories of people being able to move things with their mind.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And, they connect electrodes and try to...
yeah, using the chi or the prana.
Yeah, so is that a real thing?
According to Buddhism, that's feasible. But why? What's the explanation beneath these things that I would like to see in person? Okay, but I'm open to them. I'm open to them because I've heard from some people I find reliable that they have seen things that go in this direction, right? How does this work? If we go to the most subtler level, the subtlest level of consciousness, in certain views of Buddhism, these well, actually all levels of consciousness, which is non-material, non-physical, they are related with the material world. It's not that these are two separate things. In the Western culture, which has become kind of like, spread throughout the world, there is this Cartesian view, no? Body, mind, and soul, like three separate things, completely separate things. But in the Buddhist tradition, these are not things you can separate. You can mentally kind of like conceive them as different things, but they are not unrelated. They are highly related. They interact with each other. The brain, together with consciousness, produces human experience. But it's not that one produces the other. No, they cooperate for the result. Okay. So, in certain explanations of Buddhism, those related to what it's called the Vajrayana, or the Tantra vehicle, mind and energy, they go together. Some kind of thing that we could translate as energy, prana, chi. So, at the subtlest level of reality, consciousness interacts with the subtlest level of what we call matter. And matter includes energy and so on, right? So if you know how to access the subtlest levels of consciousness and you start playing with the energies at that level, you could produce a visible effect on the material world. But not because of some magic trick. It's because you know how to move through your consciousness energies at a very subtle level that cause, for instance, something to move slightly. This sounds amazing, right? Like magics. But look at things like this. This looks like magics to me. Nowadays, oh yeah, so it's technology. Yeah, who here understands how this works? I don't. Yeah, you have some understanding of the chip, but maybe you don't know how the screen works, right? This is amazing. This is mind-blowing. Imagine going back in time with this device and you start taking pictures like a tourist. Oh, so nice. Look at these medieval people. Look, how nice you look. I wouldn't do this. I would throw it away immediately, like, wow, is it fine? They will going to burn me, like get rid of the words and all these strange clothes because you look so awkward. No, this is technology, it's science. What are you saying me? This is capturing my soul. Right? This is witchery. No, it's technology. It's based upon science. But do we have the equivalent when it comes down to consciousness? I would say not in our tradition. But yes, in many Indian traditions, other Asian traditions, and up to some extent in shamanic traditions, in the Christian esoteric tradition, in the Muslim esoteric tradition, and so on and so on and so on. So, in a way, yes, this all looks quite like magic to us, but then when you start to know what meditators do, what they show to others, it feels like almost magic. Yeah? There was a study made by Herbert Benson. It was published in Nature. It's a very prestigious journal in biological sciences. He studied in 1981. This was published in Nature. He studied what it's called tumo. Tumo. Tumo, it's a Tibetan word that we could roughly translate as inner fire. So there are some meditators who do tumo, who lead the inner fire. What they do? What do these meditators? They claim they lead some points. They lead in some vital points related to the energetic system. They lead inner heat, and this heat allows them. And this is a display they do to prove that they really have this capacity to increase the energy in certain areas of their body. They sit naked, semi-naked, on snow, freezing cold weather, and they take some wet blankets, put the wet blankets on top of them, and they dry the blankets, and they are meditating, kind of like sustaining this inner heat. So this scientist reported this, and he reported changes of temperature at will that have not been seen at any other kind of occasion. So we cannot control our body temperature at will. We cannot. I cannot think, no, it doesn't work. Or cool down, it doesn't work. But these people, through this meditation, are able to increase the heat in their skin, right? He measured another thing. Most of these meditators increased their energy expenditure to be able to do so, to heat the skin, right? But there were few that decreased the energy expenditure. These were the most skilled ones. And yeah, wow. But Lama Yeshe, who is one of the founders of the FPMT, he explained this to beginners. And actually it's not difficult for some people to experience this. You focus on certain things and then you start feeling this heat. And it's like, whoa, it's getting really hot. And sometimes even if you don't do the practice, you are sitting there meditating, And then you start feeling so much hot. And it's winter. And everyone else is with a jacket and it's like, it's really hot. Yeah, in a way, this supports this kind of like view that consciousness and the subtle and the body at the subtle levels they interact. Right? This is the basis of acupuncture and many, Ayurveda medicine. And if you, well, let me share something that recently happened to me. I had some pain in my knee. I did something. I had some pain in my knee, but only when moving the knee in particular way, right? So this weekend I was in Reno, and there was a medical doctor who was also an acupuncturist. So she told me, "Oh, I can do something about this." So please, yeah, I'm happy if you can do something about this, no? So I I sit like here, no, in a similar place, and she asked me, "What's your problem?" Because I described the problem, and she says, "Oh, okay. Can I put you a needle now?" It was at the beginning of the teaching. So I say, "Yeah, why not put it?" Yeah, and I thought she will put the needle here, where it's no. She put me the needle here. Starts pressing. Is it painful? Is it painful? Oh, okay, that's the sweet spot. She was very excited. Like, let me put the needle. You don't mind, right? And he goes, no, do it. At the end of the session, the pain, she says to me, now try if you can feel the pain. I start moving. Like, it's gone. It's gone. And then she says to me, yeah, don't get too excited. It might come a little bit. So maybe I meet her in Friday and land Medicine Buddha. She told me that she has a house in Santa Cruz and she might come. And she will bring the needles in case I need. Well, acupuncture, it's based upon this kind of like energetic subtle body. And I was like, why here? Because there is a meridian that connects with, okay, yeah, whatever. I'm a scientist, I'm highly skeptical, but when these things happen, it's like, yes, please, if you come, bring the needles. And I will think about all the things you can fix, because that's why having a needle here, you fix my knee. I told her, I went to the doctor, they said me, yeah, anti-inflammatory pills for 2 weeks, and then some ice. I said, 2 weeks? Ibuprofen, I don't want, it's toxic for the liver. And if this doesn't work, we will inject you steroids in the knee. She said, oh no, that's terrible. It's just a needle here. That's the same for Ayurveda and so on, right? So, yeah, when you see these things, if you are a scientist, open-minded, it's like, maybe. And I'm still a skeptic. I don't know what consciousness is. You are asking me about consciousness. I don't know. But I experience consciousness like you. So I know a little bit what consciousness is. I look inwards, I look outwards, it's everywhere. Call it awareness. But then I'm open to subtler levels of awareness. Yogis, great meditators, yoginis, they claim that there are subtler levels of consciousness. It's like, come on. Well, we have experience of subtler levels of consciousness. What about dreaming? It's quite subtle, right? But not only this, we trust psychology, right? Don't they talk about unconscious? What is unconscious? The meditators, not only in Buddhism, they say that if you develop the ability to focus the mind on a certain object and you enhance very much this ability, at some point you disconnect from the sensory experiences and then you start entering into state that resembles the dreamless state, which we don't notice, but happens every night. We have a dreamless state. And you might have experienced it, but you haven't been fully aware of what it is. Actually, when we sleep, you might have had this experience. We dream every night, but it's not the case that we always remember what we dreamed, right? But it might have happened to you that you think you are awake, but everything is extremely quiet, and there are no thoughts, nothing happening. Have you ever had this experience, and you are not awake? There are no thoughts. Everything seems to be strangely quiet, extremely subtle. And actually, there you don't even have the thought, move the body. Am I awake? You don't even have these kind of thoughts. Have you ever had these glimpses? If you keep meditating, you might have them, because this is very subtle. It has happened to me maybe twice, 3 times, and then after it's like, wow, probably this was dreamless state. Because it's like complete silence, and it feels so good. The mind, it's kind of like silent. No thoughts, no emotions, no experiences, but there's awareness, right? Anyway, meditators, they say they reach a point in which the mind, it's silence. There are no thoughts, no feelings arising. There is just awareness, complete naked awareness, right? And they use then this awareness to explore things in a very subtle way. Right? They claim they can do these things. And the thing is, to reach this point, they have to let go of many things. They kind of like, they need to balance their mind. And when they get there, they might sometimes recognize extremely subtle things, extremely subtle. According to the experience and knowledge of some Westerners, in a way, these people is accessing consciously the unconscious. They are making conscious the unconscious. It's like there are some practices, not only in Buddhism, in which you train yourself to become aware of the dreams, to remember them better, but not only this, to be aware when you are dreaming that it's just a dream. And then, when you are aware of this, you can do something else. You can change the dream. And I remember in Italy, I had a couple of friends from England who were great fans of this. Right? In Buddhism, there are practices that are called dream yoga. You use the dreams, but there's something that was developed by a French, I think it's a French psychologist, now I don't recall his name, that it's called lucid dreaming. And it's used as therapy, because then you can use the dreams to heal certain things, right? But it can be also for the sake of fun, because you realize that you are dreaming, and then you can change the dream, right? And there are certain things, some of them are quite easy, and they explain me some of these things, and they gave me a book, and one of the things was to, before falling asleep, think, I want to recognize the dream, I want to recognize it very strong, like I want to recognize the dreams, I want to recognize the dreams. And whenever you wake up at night, I want to recognize the dream, like self-suggestion, right? So one day I asked them, we were having dinner, I asked them, do dreams have colors? Because mine look quite black and white. And they say, oh yes, of course they have colors. I was like, I should pay attention to this, right? That night, for some reason, which I don't know, I was able to recognize that I was dreaming. But I was so excited about it that I woke up. Oh gosh. Like, oh, that's a dream. Oh, wow. Finish. Right? It's like, oh, damn. But the next night, I was also able, I was like, relax. and then I remember about the colors. And then I remember, I imagine a city in front of me, which I created like this, and I was able to see all details. And the thought came to my mind, oh, but what about colors? And then it was like waves of colors, coloring everything. It was like, then I woke up. Like, wow, again. It's one of the obstacles. You get excited, you wake up. This is what happens when you dream. You get excited, so nice. Oh no, so terrible. Oh, what a relief, right? These are the subtleties that meditators are able to kind of access willingly because they refine their capacity to have conscious awareness when the experience gets more and more subtle, right? And this is something we can all develop. It's not something for only special people. It's the result of a training. Is this the most important we can do with our lives according to traditions such as Buddhism? No. That's very relevant, but there's something much more relevant. It's to acknowledge our wish to be happy, not to suffer, and then try to lead our actions in a direction that fulfills these wishes on ourselves and others, with wisdom and the caring attitudes I was mentioning before. You do this. Yeah, well, other people might move things with their mind and they might do all kind of funny things with their dreams. In Buddhism, these kind of powers are appreciated. They might be useful or they might not be useful. On the contrary, they might be something that becomes harmful for you because you can earn money with this. Maybe in our countries would be too much, but in certain countries, no, you could do this. Oh, the yogi or the yogini, wow, so wonderful. Give me money. Oh, yes, sure. No, Guruji. In Buddhism, it's said these things. No, Buddhism thinks that these things are real, and I'm quite open to these things. Because reality has proven to be really surprising, right? So when it comes down to consciousness, I'm very open to it, and I haven't seen this kind of crazy things, but I have met highly accomplished yogis who seem to be able to read my mind, even better than myself. And it's like, well, maybe yes. If consciousness is something like a space, that's not strange. If they have the capacity to access subtler levels of consciousness, which are less personal, maybe they are able to understand things that I cannot, or see things of myself that I don't see. Why not? It's like developing no physics. You start discovering things about reality that other people don't see because you have the instruments, you have the means to discover these things, right? It's like you having a microscope or a telescope. You see things that other people don't see. Quite easy, right? But in some texts it said, yeah, this might be fascinating and mind-blowing, but the most important power one can develop is the power of love. That's what it's mostly appreciated. Why? Because the power of love and compassion and all these caring attitudes attunes your mind with attitudes that, according to the experience of accomplished beings who have been exploring their minds, it's what attunes you with your best potential, with the deepest potential of your consciousness. In a way, these subtler levels of consciousness, when you experience them with your human mind, what do you experience? Love, compassion. Think about reality. Are we completely isolated from each other? It's obvious that we are not. We rely on each other. But attitudes such as selfishness, self-centeredness, egocentrism, attachment, greediness, are these attitudes that open your mind or kind of like close yourself? No, it's like a kind of self-absorption. Is this self-absorption something that it's in harmony with how things exist? Everything is interconnected, but the more self-absorbed you are, the more disconnected you become, right? It's the same with loving kindness, with compassion, with generosity. It's the opposite. Generosity, loving kindness, compassion, they open you. When you feel greediness, you are angry, when you are selfish, how you would describe physically? As open mind or something even oppressing here at the chest? When you feel loving kindness, compassion, how would you describe the experience? How is your mind? Oppressed or open? From this same place, right? Don't we say things like open heart? What does this mean, open heart? It's not that your heart opens. You don't want this. But why we describe these attitudes like my heart was open or warmth? Don't we even feel some warmth here? When we are selfish, our heart opens or collapses in itself. It's like getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Gollum, no? It's not depicted like, walking like this. Like this. It could be strange, no? Gandalf. Gollum. No. Because for us, loving kindness is expansive. It's light that brights outside our body, right? Whereas selfishness, hatred, is darkness that collapses in itself. It's like a black hole, right? So if consciousness, let's assume this is a hypothesis, all-pervading, developing from this human mind things such as loving kindness and compassion, attune our mind to harmonize with reality, with a consciousness that is all-pervading, with space and time, which are also, space-time are also all-pervading. Physical world, it's completely interconnected. In the Buddhist view, consciousness is not that different. The physical world, it's ruled by causes and conditions. There's causality. In the Buddhist view, consciousness is also ruled by causality. Because consciousness and the physical world are not two separate things, two completely unrelated things. They are completely related with each other. But we experience a side of consciousness, and from this side we experience what we call the physical world. We have an experience of the physical world. It's the physical world what we experience. Well, that would be the subject for another course, right? What we experience of the external world, it's the idea we have, what appears to our mind to be the external world. Like the example I gave you with the colors. So should we now say, no, there are no colors? No. We can say that this is maroon, this is red. Yeah, perfectly fine. But the more I acknowledge that my mind has to do with this, the less conditioned I become from these things. Because if maroon, I associate maroon with happiness, and I associate yellow with suffering, whenever I see yellow, it's like, oh, I don't like yellow. I love maroon, right? So I'm conditioning my experiences of happiness and suffering to something that actually it's, if you wish, an interpretation. Right? It's like hitting my eyes. It appears one color, the other, and then because of certain experiences, I like this more than this. When I understand this, I have the chance to let go of this conditioning. I prefer this color, but I'm not going to become crazy about it. I don't like this color, but if one day I have to wear yellow, because in this country it's very polite, and if you don't wear yellow, you are very unpolite, okay, I will wear yellow, because I know it's just conditioning. And then my house will be all painted with maroon, no yellow, right? Something like this. You have become free, but still you can use things and you can have likes and dislikes. But it's not like this for everyone. It's just my liking or my disliking. So you have space to relax, to let go of the huge conditioning that sometimes these things have for us. Something like this. Yeah? Okay, we have 5 minutes left. Shall we conclude with a short meditation? It seems there are no questions online, so yeah, let's move to. So, very briefly, let's spend some time just acknowledging this wish or almost yearning for happiness. Just notice how beneath the many things you do, there is always an expectation to find some well-being, some happiness, some joy, or to avoid some suffering, some distress for yourself and for others. It's like asking oneself, yourself, why I do these things, why I want these things, what's beneath. And try to see if you can recognize these deeper wishes. To then do something else. Wish yourself to be happy, to find satisfaction, happiness, joy, unconditional happiness. The happiness you experience when you feel love, compassion, when you see things clearly, when you stop worrying. Wish yourself this, wish it to others, to your beloved ones, to your pet. Wish them happiness, satisfaction. And as an expression of self-esteem, of healthy self-esteem, if you wish, you can determine yourself to walk in this direction, but with more wisdom. It's about happiness. It's the most important thing. We want to be happy, not to suffer. So if it makes sense, we can determine ourselves to be more exigent with this, not so complacent, to put energy into investigating what really leads to genuine happiness, to gradually cultivate those things that will help me fulfill these wishes for me and for others. And if it helps you, if you wish, you can imagine as a way of sealing this commitment with yourself and others, that we seal this commitment at that level of the heart, like trying of collecting our energy there by bringing our hands together there in front of our heart, like if we were holding this energy next to our heart. Like, may we be happy. I will do my best to understand how to be happy, how to alleviate suffering of myself and others. Okay, so we can gradually conclude. Thank you very much for being here, for giving me this opportunity to share these things. It's been a pleasure. I hope it was useful. I don't know what were your expectations. Well, no, why do we react the way we do? Well, it's quite open, right? But yeah, I hope it was useful, as I said. Thank you.